I'm Wayne Eaker, president of Texas Railing Systems. I'm the owner and founder of the company. And we started the company in 2009 and moved into our present facility here in 2016. And basically do railing work, decorative metal rails, contemporary designs for the most part throughout greater central Texas. And I've got a saying that I use when a customer calls a lot of times that they'll say, well, will you go here? And I'll say, well, will you write the check? You know, so we travel quite a bit. The guys are constantly on the road. On the Clines Landing project, we're contacted just shortly after the hurricane. And this is a huge building that had been pretty devastated by the hurricane. They looked like they had some roof leaks that came through, and it's a 6-story structure that sits right on the corner of Port Aransas, where the ships coming in and out of Corpus Christi turn and go out to the Gulf or turn and go up into the harbor. It's been a building down there since 1980, and it was time for a refresh on it. So the hurricane helped out with damaging the building enough that it was refreshed all the way through. When I first got down to the job and looked at it, the owner had already demoed out a lot of the condominiums through it, and it looked like just an open parking garage, just clean, nothing in the way. One of the certifications that we had to achieve was an approval through the Texas Department of Insurance, the TDI. We had to certify that the railing it needed to withstand the Texas windstorm requirements. And with the building being right on the edge of the Gulf, and I believe it's anything that's a barrier island or fronting any of the Gulf waters is required to withstand a 168 mile an hour wind for when the hurricane comes in. And part of what that's for is to ensure that the building will, as best it can, withstand that storm and either not have damage or have minimal damage on there. And one of the things that you don't want happening is for anything to be breaking loose and become projectile through there. And there's decreasing, as you move in on the Gulf, there's decreasing requirements. You know, there's a second layer and there's a third layer, and then after that it's just the normal. But the Texas Department of Insurance requires that, and we had to work through that certification and get that engineering, and we were able to back that, and now they have us listed as one of 4 companies, or UltraLox. The UltraLox product is listed as one of 4 companies on the TDI website as approving and achieving that status. As we progress through the putting together and talking with the contractor and going through, we were originally under contract to just replace 1,400 feet that were damaged in the hurricane. There was still part of the building that needed to be taken apart on it, and we, in the process of taking the curtain wall windows off of the balcony, the demolition contractor did another 6,000 foot of damage to the railing. So we were looking at a total package, and we had a couple of other vendors that we were looking at the time. The one thing that was nice with the UltraLox product is the way that it's engineered, that it's a interlocking technology so that there's absolutely no welds or anything, and the sturdiness of how the pickets lock into it was one of the things that I enjoyed looking at and seeing on there, because this building will sit in another hurricane sometime. And part of my thought was to try to prevent it from being damaged again and somebody having to come back in and replace stuff. So we wanted a product that looked like it was going to withstand the test of time and the test of a storm. Yeah, after the demolition contractor got through and damaged the rest of it, the contractor called me up and said, we need you to come down here and look at it again because it looks like we're replacing everything. And I drove up to the building, and almost looked like a bomb had gone off. There was stuff hanging off of different areas where they had damaged the rail and all. And the 1,400 feet that we started with under contract on there suddenly became everything. And one of the nice things, and we were even arguing the point while we were looking at the 1,400 feet going, you know, the guy in Unit 6A is going to be on his balcony looking out over to the guy at Unit 7A going, how come you got new railing and I didn't? For the most part, the rest of the building was a total new building. Everything was repainted on the outside, everything, you know, was new and fresh on the inside, and that was one of my arguing points in the contract was, why do you only want to do part of the railing? Replace it all, make it look right, make it look like it's not a patchwork job. In time, with the help of the demolition contractor, we got that resolved and we got to do it all. One of the neat things that we did with this Clines landing was we eclipsed our largest job ever by like twice. This was a huge project, and never before had we done one of that size, and it will probably be a long time before we do another one of that size. It's just not projects with 7,500, 8,000 linear foot of railing. When we finished everything going through and then even went down later and replaced some other areas that hadn't even been included in the scope on the landscaping, because this just about wraps the entire outside of the building on that, and those things are not going to come around very often. And that was one of the neat things about this. It blocked off our time that we did, and we had to say no to a couple of smaller projects at the time because we just couldn't take our focus away. But it took up probably about 4 to 5 months of our time in order to fabricate and install everything that we needed on here. One of the things that we did in the design of the railing was we used 3-inch post on the ends to terminate the railing, and then built the panels using the 2-inch post and and a bridge going over the 2-inch post so that we could do a continuous top rail. And when you do that, it makes it look like the thing was built for the project rather than being a kit that you went out and picked up and installed and just kind of made fit. You know, so we took the time to take a little extra measure and make it look right. They were paying a lot of money for it. It's a high-end building. We wanted it to look high-end and satisfy all of the customers. Yeah, one of the things that was really nice on this project was we were coming in and the contractor was a little worried about us getting all of the railing in and getting it up and doing it because of everybody else. The building had very limited access, had 2 construction elevators that were put on it, and anything and everything had to go up and into the building that way. So what we came up with was an idea where we brought everything for the 6th floor that way. We had pre-measured and wanted to make sure that our measurements were correct. So we did everything on the 6th floor going up through the elevators. And to do the remaining floors, I asked them, I said, do you mind if we just turn around and do the stacks? Do it from the top to the bottom. So they agreed to that. And what we ended up doing was bringing a boom lift out there and putting a glazer's channel on the front of it and lifting the rail from the ground up to the top. And part of what we had to do was we had to do the demo for the old rail. We had to cut all of it off and then bring the new rail right on top of where the old railing was sitting. So we had one guy that was in a boom lift, just flying panels, links, 20-foot runs, up and down, you know, and the guys would be on the balcony. He'd get it up there, they would unload it, and they would already have the old one cut off, and they would take the new one off, set it down, put the old one on the lift, and then on the boom, and then he'd take that one down, load up another one, and bring that one up. And what ended up happening was we got ahead of their construction schedule, and we didn't have to really attend the sub meetings where they were coordinating things. And it was also nice because we weren't bringing our stuff through their elevators or through the condo units where the other trades were having to work. So we freed up quite a bit of time and then got ahead of the project, and it worked to the better of all. On this project, the railing was up on I believe it was about a 12-inch parapet wall, and in that we needed to have a custom size picket made and done, and UltraLox was able to fabricate that, cut it off to the length that we needed, and then ship it to us with the rest of our materials that came in. One of the things that this building did require was a special salt water coating done with the railing. Aluminum is very withstanding of most corrosive deals, but with this building sitting right on the corner of the ship channel and being right on the open shelf to the Gulf, the special coating, salt water coating, was needed, and that's required of any of the aluminum that sits within about a mile of the waterfront, of the salt waterfront. And it protects the aluminum a little bit better and prevents the corrosion from getting started on there. And it's not necessarily a corrosion that will be detrimental to the aluminum, but it becomes a little unsightly on the finish. So this was needed on that, and it was able to be provided. One of the things with the material coming in linear lengths that we really enjoyed about as we looked at the UltraLox product was that linear footage, and then being able to bring it in and assemble the panels here. The storage area is minimal. We don't have the railing panels sitting around, and it was nice to have those parts come in, customize it to the size that we needed on the saws, on pieces that were small, and cut the lengths that were needed, and then using the UltraLox machine, assemble those panels and lock those pickets together. And in our shop, there for a while, as you can imagine what 7,500 linear foot of railing might look like, we had railing just about everywhere and had the place covered up. And we could have never really done that if we would have bought pre-finished panels and brought them in. It would have just taken up so much space that we wouldn't have been able to work. So having everything in a bundle and stacked on our racks was greatly beneficial. And even now, storing the leftover product that we had from that and some of our inventory, it's nice because it's all nice and neat in one little area and not strewn over all. As we got through the project and went toward the end of it, we were getting some accolades from the general contractor from the way that we were able to move speed and with intent. And then we got a phone call one day from the owner's rep, who was just amazed at what we were able to do, and that was a nice little plug. And to this day, we've got a good relationship, and they're ecstatic